I walked into my own house and saw something that stopped my heart. My housekeeper was on her hands and knees in the middle of my living room, laughing like a child. My 3 babies were riding on her back like she was a horse, pulling her with a jump rope, giggling so hard they could barely breathe.
And me?
I hadn't heard my children laugh like that in 437 days. That's how long it had been since their mother died. That's how long I'd been running from the pain. That's how long I'd left my children in the care of strangers, while I buried myself in work halfway across the world. My name is Vincent Cole. I own a real estate empire that spans 15 countries. I've closed deals worth hundreds of millions. Business magazines call me ruthless, successful, brilliant. But standing in my doorway that morning, watching a woman I barely knew give my children something I couldn't, I realized something that broke me. I wasn't brilliant. I was a coward. And the woman I was about to fire was the only reason my children still knew how to smile. This is the story of how I almost destroyed the best thing that ever happened to my family, and how a housekeeper with a broken heart taught a billionaire what it really means to be rich. Let me tell you what happened next. Welcome to the story room. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment my world fell apart. My wife, Caroline, died on a Tuesday morning.
Sudden.
Unexpected. One moment she was making breakfast singing to our 3-year-old triplets, and the next she was gone. Heart failure, the doctors said. Nothing anyone could have done. Our children, Oliver, Amelia, and little James, they were too young to understand. They kept asking for Mama, kept waiting by the door for her to come home. And me? I couldn't look at them without seeing her face. Couldn't hear them cry without feeling like my chest was being ripped open.
So I did what I do best.
I ran. I threw myself into work. My real estate empire was struggling, investments failing, properties losing value. I told myself my children needed financial security. I convinced myself that saving my business was the same as saving my family. I hired the best nannies money could buy. I left detailed instructions. Feed them organic food, maintain strict schedules, educational activities only. Keep them safe.
Keep them healthy. Keep them alive.
But I never said, love them. I never said, hold them when they cry. I never said, be there when they wake up screaming for their mother in the middle of the night. For over a year, I traveled. London, Dubai, Singapore, New York. Closing deals. Signing contracts. Rebuilding my empire one property at a time. I called home once a week. Quick calls. Are they eating? Are they sleeping? Good. I'll send more money. I told myself I was being a good father. Providing. Protecting. But really? I was just afraid. Afraid of feeling. Afraid of failing. Afraid that if I loved them too much and something happened, I wouldn't survive it. The mansion in Vienna became a beautiful prison. Spotless marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Rooms full of expensive toys that no one played with. And 3 small children who stopped asking when Daddy would come home. Then I hired Isabella Torres, a housekeeper from Barcelona, 32 years old. Quiet.
Simple resume.
References said she was good with children. I barely glanced at it. I just needed someone reliable while the latest nanny had quit. I gave her the same instructions I gave everyone else. Feed them. Bathe them. Keep the house clean. Professional boundaries at all times. She nodded. Said, yes, sir. Started the next Monday. I didn't know then that she would change everything. I didn't know that this quiet woman with sad eyes carried her own unbearable grief. And I definitely didn't know that she was about to save my children from the worst kind of abandonment. The abandonment of a father who is physically alive but emotionally dead. I wasn't supposed to be home. My flight from Tokyo was scheduled to arrive the next day. But the deal closed early, and I decided to surprise everyone by coming back a day ahead.
Surprise.
That's exactly what I got. It was a Thursday morning, around 10 a.m. I used my key quietly, thinking maybe I'd find the children napping or doing some educational activity. The house was unusually loud. I could hear laughter. Real laughter. The kind that echoes through hallways and makes you smile before you even know why. I followed the sound to the living room and froze. Isabella, my professional housekeeper who I'd specifically instructed to maintain boundaries, was on her hands and knees in the middle of my expensive Persian rug. Oliver and James were sitting on her back, bouncing and squealing. Amelia was in front, holding a jump rope tied around Isabella's waist, pulling with all her tiny might and shouting, "Faster, horsey, faster." Isabella was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Her uniform was wrinkled. Her hair had fallen completely out of its usual tight bun. Her face was flushed and glowing with pure, unfiltered joy. And my children. Oh, my children. They were happy. Genuinely, beautifully, completely happy. My briefcase slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a loud thud. Everyone froze. Isabella's eyes went wide with terror. She scrambled to her feet so fast she nearly knocked the children over. "Mr. Cole." I didn't know you were." "I'm so sorry, sir. They asked to play and I thought." But I couldn't hear her. I could only stare at my children. "Daddy," Amelia screamed, and all three of them ran toward me. Really ran. With smiles so big I thought my heart would explode. When was the last time they smiled at me like that? When was the last time I was home long enough to play with them? When was the last time I got on the floor and let them be children? I knelt down and they crashed into me, hugging me, talking all at once, telling me about the horsey game and the stories Isabella tells and the cookies they made yesterday. Over their heads, I looked at Isabella. She was standing stiffly, hands clasped, face pale, clearly expecting to be fired on the spot. And if you're enjoying this story so far, you'll want to subscribe, because this is only the beginning. I should have been angry. She broke my rules. She crossed professional boundaries. She was doing far more than what I paid her for. But all I felt was shame. Deep, crushing shame. Because my children were hugging a woman who'd been in their lives for 4 months with more affection than they showed me. Their own father. That night, after Isabella nervously put the children to bed, I sat alone in my study. I poured myself a drink I didn't finish. I stared at the wall where Caroline's photo used to hang before I took it down, because looking at it hurt too much. And I asked myself questions I'd been avoiding for 437 days. Had I abandoned my children? Had I hired people to raise them because I was too broken to do it myself? Had love been happening in my own house while I was too afraid and too proud to see it? The answer to all three was yes. And it destroyed me. The next morning, I called Isabella into my office. I watched her walk in, shoulders tense, eyes downcast. She thought she was about to lose her job. Maybe she was. I hadn't decided yet. "Sit," I said, more gently than I intended. She sat on the edge of the chair like she might need to run at any moment. "How long have you been this close to my children?" I asked. She swallowed hard. I don't understand, sir." "Yesterday. The game. The laughter. That wasn't the first time, was it?" Her hands twisted in her lap. "No, sir." "How long?" "Since the second week," she whispered. I leaned back in my chair, processing this. "I specifically told you to maintain professional boundaries." "I know, sir."
I'm sorry.
"I tried. I really did." Her voice cracked. "But they're just babies. They needed."
What?
I interrupted. "What did they need?" She looked up at me then, and for the first time, I saw past the housekeeper uniform. I saw a woman carrying her own pain. "They needed someone to hold them when they cried," she said softly. "Someone to sit with them when they had nightmares. Someone to tell them they're loved and safe and that it's okay to be sad about their mama." Each word hit me like a punch. "And you gave them that?" I tried to give them what I wish someone had given my son. The room went silent. "Your son?" Isabella's eyes filled with tears. She looked down. "I had a little boy once. Diego. He was 4 years old when he got sick. Leukemia. I spent 2 years watching him fight. Watching him fade. I held his hand when he died." My throat closed up. "Isabella, I'm so..." "It was 6 years ago," she continued, her voice steady despite the tears. I thought I'd never recover. I thought I'd never smile again. Then I met Oliver, Amelia, and James. They reminded me of him. The way they laugh. The way they ask a million questions. The way they just want someone to see them. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. I never meant to overstep, Mr. Cole. I never tried to replace their mother or take your place. But I couldn't watch 3 children grieve alone. I couldn't pretend not to see how much they needed affection. So, I gave them what I could.
I didn't know what to say.
This woman had lost everything and still had enough love left to give to children who weren't hers. What do you do with them? I asked quietly. I talk to them before bed, she said. I tell them stories about brave children and parents who love them even when they're far away. I let them talk about their mama without changing the subject. I make their favorite foods. I play games that make them laugh. I just show up. Every day. Even when it's hard. They cry for you sometimes, sir, she added, looking directly at me. At night. They ask when you're coming home. I tell them you're working hard to take care of them. But, Mr. Cole. She hesitated. They don't need more things. They need you. That sentence shattered something inside me. That day, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I saw the drawings taped to the refrigerator, each one signed with 3 tiny handprints. I noticed the healthy meals prepared with care, not just expensive organic ingredients thrown together. I saw the routine chart Isabella had made, full of structure but also flexibility for silly time and cuddle time. I found a small journal in the playroom. Isabella's handwriting. Oliver's favorite color this week, red. Amelia loves when I braid her hair like a princess. James asks about his mama more than the others. Remind him she loved him every single day. This woman wasn't just a housekeeper. She was holding my broken family together with love I was too scared to give. And I had been too blind to see it. For 2 weeks, I did something I'd never done before. I stayed home. I canceled meetings. I pushed back deadlines. I told my business partners I needed time. For the first time in over a year, I ate dinner with my children. I sat on the floor and played blocks. I read bedtime stories in terrible cartoon voices that made them giggle. I listened to their endless questions and actually answered them. It was awkward at first. I didn't know how to play.
I didn't know what they liked.
I felt like a stranger in my own children's lives. But Isabella never interfered. She gave me space to figure it out. She'd smile from across the room, encouraging, never judging. And slowly, I started to connect with my kids again. Then my family arrived. My brother, my sister-in-law, my cousin. They came to check on me after hearing I was staying home instead of closing deals. They took one look at Isabella playing with the children, and the whisper started. She's too familiar with them. A housekeeper shouldn't be that close to the children. Vincent, you need to be careful. Women like that, they see money, and they manipulate. She probably thinks she can replace Caroline. You're vulnerable right now. She's taking advantage. Doubt crept in like poison. I tried to ignore it. I tried to trust what I'd seen with my own eyes. But fear is powerful, especially when you've already lost so much. One night, after my family left, I called Isabella into my office. I'd been drinking. Not much, but enough to make me cruel. Are you using my children to get close to me? I asked coldly. The color drained from her face. What? My family thinks you're manipulating me, playing the role of the perfect caretaker to secure your position. Maybe even more. Isabella stood there, frozen, like I'd slapped her. Is that what you think, Mr. Cole? Her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know what to think anymore. She looked at me for a long moment. No anger. No defense. Just deep sadness. If you truly believe that, she said quietly, then I've already failed your children. Because the most important thing I wanted to teach them was to trust love when they see it. She walked out of my office. The next morning, her resignation letter was on my desk. I cannot work for someone who sees kindness as manipulation. I wish you and your children all the best. Isabella Torres. She was gone by noon. The house fell silent. The children cried endlessly. They refused to eat. They asked for Isabella over and over. Where's Bella? When is Bella coming back? Did Bella stop loving us? That last question, asked by Amelia with tears streaming down her face, broke me completely. I had done it again. I had pushed away love because I was afraid. I had let pride and fear destroy something pure and beautiful. I had hurt my children and the one person who truly cared for them. 3 days later, I couldn't take it anymore. I found Isabella's address from her employment file. A small apartment in a modest neighborhood, nothing like my mansion. I knocked on her door at 7 p.m. She opened it, surprised, eyes red like she'd been crying. Mr. Cole, I'm sorry. The words came out rough.
I'm so sorry, Isabella. You were right.
I was scared. I lost my wife, and I've been running from pain ever since. When I saw how much my children loved you, how much you gave them, I panicked. I thought if I let myself trust you, if I let myself care, I'd lose again. Tears rolled down my face. I didn't try to stop them. You didn't manipulate anyone. You saved my children. You gave them love when I was too broken to do it myself. And I repaid you with suspicion and cruelty. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But my children need you. Please. Please come back. Isabella looked at me for a long time. Then she said, I don't need a perfect employer, Mr. Cole. But your children need a father who shows up. Not just physically, emotionally.
Can you do that?
I don't know how, I admitted. But I want to learn. Will you teach me? She smiled through her tears. Yes. Isabella came back the next day. But everything was different. She wasn't just the housekeeper anymore. She was family. I made that clear to everyone, including my judgmental relatives. If Isabella isn't welcome, neither are you, I told them. The children were overjoyed. They clung to her, chattering nonstop about everything she'd missed in 3 days. And for the first time, I didn't feel jealous. I felt grateful. I started therapy. I talked about Caroline, about grief,
About fear.
about being a father when you feel broken inside. It was hard. Some days it felt impossible. But I kept going. And Isabella was patient. She taught me how to braid Amelia's hair, how to make James laugh with silly faces, how to help Oliver with his puzzles without taking over. She showed me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. Months passed. The mansion transformed. It stopped being a cold, silent palace and became a home. A real home, full of laughter and mess and life. The children flourished. They started sleeping through the night. They stopped asking when Mama was coming back and instead talked about happy memories of her. They grew confident and joyful and secure. And somewhere along the way, quietly, without either of us planning it, Isabella and I fell in love. Not the desperate, passionate kind. The steady, deep kind. Built on respect and shared pain and watching each other choose to heal. She understood my grief. I understood hers. We didn't try to replace what we'd lost. We just learned to build something new. One evening, after putting the children to bed, I asked her to marry me. No fancy restaurant. No grand gesture. Just the two of us in the living room where I first saw her playing with my kids. I'm not asking you to be their mother, I said. Caroline will always be their mother. But I'm asking you to be my partner. My wife. The person who helped me find my way back to love.
She said yes.
We got married 6 months later.
Small ceremony.
Just us, the children, and a few close friends. Oliver, Amelia, and James stood with us, holding flowers, grinning like it was the best day of their lives. Because it was. The woman who once feared losing her job became the heart of our home. The children who once felt abandoned now sleep peacefully, knowing they are deeply, truly loved. And me? I learned the most important lesson of my life. You can have all the money in the world. You can own buildings and properties and businesses. But none of it means anything if you don't have love. Real love. The kind that shows up. The kind that stays. The kind that holds you when you're broken and helps you become whole again. Isabella didn't just save my children.
She saved me.
And now, when I walk into my house after a long day, I don't hear silence anymore. I hear laughter. I hear 3 children running to the door shouting, "Daddy's home." I hear my wife in the kitchen, humming while she cooks. I hear life. I hear love. I hear family. And that, my friends, is the greatest wealth anyone could ever have. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the Story Room for meaningful stories that inspire and teach life lessons.